To another unboxing. Today we have for you the REVELOT HEXMARINER. It's a kind of semi-unboxing. I've already unboxed it, worn it for a couple of weeks, and now it's going on to somebody else. So you won't get the full impact and the nice presentation and everything, but I just wanted to kind of do this unboxing, talk you around the watch, let you see some of the specifications and the features of the watch in good detail, and kind of discuss why, my personal opinion, I almost feel that this watch is in the wrong market. And I'll explain the reasons for that as we go. This particular one, the REVELOT HEXMARINER, I had never heard of REVELOT before, and full disclosure, we have no affiliation with REVELOT. It's just a watch I got in a trade on the marketplace, and didn't expect to enjoy it, and really did. So I'm going to talk through the reasons for that as well. Before we get stuck in, quick wrist check. I've got the Juno silent service on the wrist today. Shout out to John at Juno. Absolutely stunning watch as always from them. Just fantastic, unbelievable quality. Check them out if you have not already. Highly recommend them. So the REVELOT HEXMARINER comes in this very nice box, not your kind of bog standard watch box with a lid or anything. You have this kind of foil gold, sort of debossed into the logo and the hexagonal shapes around the sleeve. You take that off. Got a super heavy duty box. You could almost run over this in a truck. It's ultra heavy duty, thick, very thick texture, and again you've got the foil REVELOT logo here, little highlight down the side, and then you slide that open, and this is where you're not getting the full impact because I've got links under here and a bit of tissue. So it's not quite the full presentation that you would get if you buy one of these. This particular model is the green variant. Has a lot of little gold highlights on it, which I'll show you through in a minute. Just thought it was a little bit of a different color, and it's certainly a dynamic kind of look. Inside of the box is pretty basics, like a kind of foam sort of texture, nothing special. You pull the watch out, and there you have the watch. So just to go through some of the specs, you're talking retail value on this, I think $339, $349. That's kind of what flagged this to me as kind of, your standard micro brand fare. Approximately that kind of price, 42mm case, ceramic insert. So you get good, good specs on them, sapphire crystal, powered by an NH35, but very, very much a kind of standard fare for micro brands, aside from the design, which has something unique in pretty much every area of it. So that's what's kind of drawn me to it. I really enjoyed wearing this over the last couple of weeks. And I want to talk you through kind of from the dial out, and then we'll look at the case back, strap. I'll give you some of the pros and cons, the things I loved and maybe disliked a little bit about the watch as we go. So let's look at the dial first. Now you see that lots and lots of texture, very kind of deep texture. There, sort of more of a kind of triangular texture on the dial surface itself, but throughout the dial you have this hexagonal theme kind of carrying through outside of that. So the applied indices are there, you can see all of them hexagonal kind of shape. The lume area of the hand kit, both the hour, minute, and even the second hand, you can see kind of going around there. They all have that hexagonal theme to it, which I think is very, very cool. The fact they've thought that through and really committed to that. Outside of the dial, you'll see there is a gold markers kind of system around the outside of the dial. Kind of hard to see in certain lights, unless you're sort of like at an angle like this, and you can kind of see it there. And it's maybe my first minor complaint with the watch is that there's so much going on in the dial with the texture of the dial face, the markers, the outside. It's kind of hard to see the text and the brand unless you go really close and start going at certain angles where you can see the text, really where the light glints off it. Otherwise it kind of tends to go into the dial a little bit more than I would like. However, very, very unique look, very unique design. I love the commitment to that theme of the hexagonal shapes across the board. Then as you work out into the bezel insert, ceramic insert, very, very high quality, no issues with that. Crisp reflections, very, very nicely engineered. In fact, even the cutouts here, or the lume markers you'll see, are hexagonal, which I think is kind of cool. The fact, again, they've committed to that theme. The lume pip, or the lume block, I suppose you would call it, I'm not sure why they went with like a Superman kind of logo. That kind of instantly screams that from the shape of it, and I'm not sure why they didn't figure out a way to do a hexagonal shape there too. Outside of that, I think it looks good. Nice point at the bottom, so it kind of, you know, creates that definition to it. So no real issue there that I could really complain about, outside of just that all the rest of the shapes match the theme and that one thing doesn't. But still, no problems at all. I want to show you the lume on this thing because it's Swiss Superluminova, which is great. You know, you get it on a lot of watches these days, but I've never seen a watch, or rarely seen a watch, that glows with such ferocity as this. What you see when I turn out the light? You can see the full extent of the lume there. But it's you know, it's really, really blind. You can see it in good sunlight even. It's kind of glaring at you. And even when you haven't kind of activated it with a UV light or anything, of course I'm under this studio light here, but I've noticed even in a poorly lit room, you know, wake up in the morning, it's sitting on the counter and the lume is glaring. So I don't know what kind of weird stuff they used in that outside of the Swiss Superluminova, but it is very impressive. So that's, you know, first thing, styling, that they've committed to that hexagonal theme. They've created a unique design on the dial and the applied indices. The fact that it is applied indices, you know, at a sort of lower market value is impressive. Ceramic dial is excellent. The cutouts and the lume markers, excellent. The lume itself, superb. So, you know, from the face up, you're getting a lot of positives there. As we work around the case then, I'll show you another thing I really love about this, and it's that the case itself has been very uniquely designed. This kind of reminds me a little bit, albeit it's more angular, but it reminds me a little bit of the new Venezianico Neride Ultra Leggero. They have this kind of bevel around the top of the lugs going through as well. Their case is a little bit more kind of straight curve, you know, rather than not straight curve, curved rather than this kind of angular, you know, approach. But a similar kind of attention to detail, and again, just very, very well manufactured. You can see the brushing on it is excellent. The polished bevel is excellent. The crown you can see there, I love it. It's very, very sort of industrial looking in terms of the grip. Really, you know, good grip on that. You've got that little kind of sun cut out there in the center as well. But an excellent shape to the case. Very, very different and well done. They could, you know, they didn't have to do the polished bevels or anything like that, but it just adds that glint when the light catches it. So kudos to them for doing that. Up top then, the lugs are brushed and angled down on both sides. Bezel itself, you can see very, very nice definition around the edges, all polished. We'll listen to the clicks here. It's pretty good. No complaints there. Almost certain it perfectly lines up, and it does. No real back play as such, so again, good movement to that. You find even in higher level watches, you find some back play, or maybe not as precise or not as aligned as this. So they've done a great job with that as well. That leads me into the case back, and then we'll deal with the strap. So when you open this up, you'll see here, if I can get a good angle on it, you've got this fantastic open display back. It's an NH35, so it's not going to, you know, blow your mind under that, but I kind of like the fact, if that is in focus, I like the fact that they've kind of put in this overlay on top of the rotor, so you can see the rotor underneath. It's hard to see in the video, but they have this sort of you know, cut out overlay in gold, which matches of course the theme on the front of the watch, and it does create a very, very nice effect for that open display case back. Got hexagons and stars as the kind of detail in there. And then around the outside, Japan automatic. Launch edition, this particular one is from the Kickstarter campaign. Got sapphire glass, 200 meter. It also has quick release pushers on the strap, you can see there as well. So they've thought through that as well, which I think is a nice little detail. Very impressed with that, especially on a watch again. You start to stack up all the specifications, you know, from the dial to the bezel insert, the action, the case design, the brushing, case back. you know, there's a lot to like about this watch. Then you go into the stainless steel band, and to me, this is kind of where I think they could have jumped up a little bit, because the design on this is excellent. You see, there's a lot of different angles going on, creates that kind of, again, just kind of, you know, straight line angles. Very industrial look in the center link. Kind of makes me think a little bit about the some of the Helm watches, like I think it's the Kuriburi. You know, that kind of industrial look, very chunky kind of look. I like the fact that they have polished the outside edge, the kind of bevel along that as well, because that marries up beautifully with the actual lug bevel as well in the polished sense. So that's a really, really good step. I think they did an excellent job on this. Not your standard strap, you know, oyster kind of bracelet that you might get on something like this, or an engineer bracelet. They've actually thought this through and really done something very different. So again, I think that's a step up from what you would expect from a watch in this price point. My only complaint with the bracelet is the watch head is pretty heavy, and I wish the bracelet was a little bit silkier and kind of thicker. You maybe hear it sort of jangling a little bit. There's a little bit of jingle in between the links. Push pin links. Okay, just note that for what I'm going to say in the next section about why I think it's in the wrong marketplace. But then we move on to the clasp. Excellent clasp. You've got a milled clasp here with the kind of, it's like a almost like a sunflower effect. It's the same as the crown, so they've kept that through. Very, very nice brushing on this as well. Push release, no issues at all with that. In line with the bracelet though, I wish they had got a larger clasp on this. It's very, very nice, but it does sit funny on the wrist, and I'll show you how that looks right now. Always find it kind of just, it created this sort of bulk out on the wrist. See the way it kind of sits up here? And it's kind of centered in the wrist. I've, you know, managed to do that, but this just kind of sits up. It sort of goes in and then up, and it's not, you know, nicely flat. I feel if they had a longer clasp, it would have sat better on the wrist, and it would have looked more substantial. It does look very good, but it would look better, I think, if they had a bigger one that maybe went, say, to here on the link, and it would have just kind of curved round instead of sitting up as it does. But again, very, very nice, the fact they've done a milled clasp, and the brushing is great on it. So that kind of brings me around the watch to why I feel it's in the wrong market. As I said at the start, the price point, sort of $339, $349, I believe, 42mm case. You've seen all the specifications. If they had just had a slightly chunkier, silkier bracelet, a little bit less jangle to it, but keeping the same design, if they had made the clasp a little bit longer, more substantial, again, it has micro adjustments and stuff, so that's a good move. If they have put a higher end movement in this, for instance, a Sellita SW200 or an ETA 2824, or even a Miyota 9015, I feel like instead of this being a 349 watch, it could have been a 999 watch, because everything else within the system of what has built this watch is at that level. The ceramic insert is awesome. The engineering of the case is great. The fact they've committed to a design flow and a design language and stuck with it across the watch. You know, when I was wearing it on the wrist, I was like, the only thing I complain about with this is the bracelet a little bit, but I love the design of it, and the fact that it's an NH35. It's almost like this should really be a $500 watch as it sits. I think they've underpriced it, first of all. So I don't think it is really a 349 watch. But the problem is that's the benchmark that people see it as. So that's what they'll pay less than that in the marketplace. I just feel that the attention to detail and the engineering across this, what they've done with the watch, if they had literally just put a Swiss movement in it or made it Swiss made and just ever so slightly changed the bracelet in terms of the, you know, maybe put in screw links with collars, you know, make it a little bit silkier. You know, I look at the Jeanneau bracelet and it's just, actually this one isn't quite as silky as my original Ocean Rover, which I've worn for a while, but this This bracelet is just silk. Same sort of bracelet feel that you would get, say, on like a Tudor at 3 times the price. Very, very silky, and it's not thick, but it creates the silkiness to the feel of the bracelet. So again, if they had have maybe hopped up the silkiness on the bracelet, put screw links in with a collar just to make it smoother, made the clasp a little bit more substantial, and stuck a Swiss movement in it, I see no reason why this couldn't retail at $1,000 and be worth it for a very different look. So I want to kind of say, I don't think it's priced right. I don't think $349 is the correct price for a watch with this attention to detail in the microbrand range or line or industry. I feel like it's a $500 watch and it should be priced like that. And I feel with those couple of adjustments, it could double in price and easily demand that price point. It's very, very good. It's really, really impressed me. I enjoyed wearing it a lot. I just auctioned it off this week, so it's going on to somebody else, but I hope they love it. There's just a lot to like about this watch. I'll finish it up with a quick wrist check on it. You can kind of see how it looks on a kind of average size wrist. Kind of 7.25 inch wrist. Really, really nice on the wrist. Lug design is great, very well apportioned, doesn't look crazy, not too big or anything like that, and just very, a different look, which is rare in the microbrand market. A lot of microbrands are just doing a homage piece or a pretty straightforward diver, and I gotta say, with the REVELOT HEXMARINER, and I don't know the company, I don't know who they are, I haven't spoken with them, so I'm literally just speaking from having this and wearing it for the last couple of weeks. I would urge you, if you can get a hold of one, do it, because you can get it for a crazy price on the marketplace when people are selling them. And really, like I say, it's a watch that should sit in a higher demographic, a higher market than it does, just with a couple of small adjustments. And even without those adjustments, I kind of feel like you're getting a watch that other microbrands are charging $500 for, or $450, for $339, $349, and then even less on the marketplace. All the specs aligned. It's a superb little watch. So guys, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've experienced one of these or if you've any questions about it. Happy to help. And meantime, hope you've enjoyed watching. Take it easy. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below. And yeah, have a great day. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.